Once upon a time, there was an abandoned house on the outskirts of a small town. Its windows were shattered, and the door had long been rusted shut. The townspeople believed the house was cursed. According to the legend, many years ago, a family had lived in that house. One day, the entire family mysteriously vanished. No one knew what happened to them or where they had gone. But after that day, strange things began to happen around the house. Lights would glow strangely from the windows at midnight. The grass would sway as if moved by an invisible wind. And some brave villagers claimed to have seen a pair of glowing red eyes peering from the darkness while passing by. One evening, Mike, a 12-year-old boy who had recently moved to the town, decided to investigate the mystery with his friends. Everyone else was afraid and avoided the house, but Mike's curiosity was stronger than any fear. As night fell, he and 3 of his friends set off toward the old, abandoned house. Though the house was close to the town, the surrounding forest was dark and eerily silent. As they passed through the thick bushes, Mike's heart began to race. "This place is creepy," he muttered, but his friends reassured him. The house, though near the village, was in terrible shape. The wood was rotting, the walls cracked, and the windows were boarded up. Despite the decaying state, there was an unnatural silence about the place. They decided to go inside. Mike's hands trembled slightly as they pried open the door. The inside of the house was pitch black, only lit by the beams of their flashlights. Every step they took was accompanied by the sound of creaking floorboards, and a strange chill filled the air. Suddenly, Mike noticed something move behind him. When he turned around, there was no one there. But then he heard a soft whispering sound, as if someone was standing right behind him. "Mike, there's something in here," one of his friends said, their voice shaking with fear. But Mike tried to stay calm. "It's just the old floorboards," he said, though his heart was pounding faster now. After a while, they found a large room. It was messy, with dust and broken furniture everywhere. But in one corner, there was a painting hanging crookedly on the wall. It was a very old family portrait, but there was something strange about it. The eyes of the family members in the painting were completely hollow, black voids staring back at them. Mike stepped closer to examine it, but at that very moment, a cold breeze swept through the room, and the lights of their flashlights flickered. Suddenly, the whispers returned, louder this time. The sound seemed to come from all around them, though no one was visible. Mike froze, trying to figure out where it was coming from. But then, a voice they couldn't ignore whispered, "You shouldn't have come here." Suddenly, the whispers returned, louder this time. The sound seemed to come from all around them, though no one was visible. Mike froze, trying to figure out where it was coming from. But then, a voice they couldn't ignore whispered, "You shouldn't have come here." A moment later, the flashlight Mike was holding suddenly went out, plunging them into complete darkness. The air grew colder, and the whispers turned into faint cries. His friends seemed to vanish into the blackness around him. "Guys!" Mike called out in panic, but no one answered. Then, from the corner of his eye, he saw a dark figure moving toward him. It was a shadow, growing larger, but its shape was impossible to make out. He spun around, but all he could see was an empty room. When he turned back, the figure was close, almost within reach. Mike turned and ran, but the house seemed to stretch on forever. He stumbled through the rooms, his heart pounding, but the more he ran, the further away the door seemed. The air around him grew colder, and the whispers filled his ears. "Leave, now, leave," they murmured, but Mike never made it out. The next morning, the townspeople noticed the eerie silence that surrounded the house. They gathered, but no one dared to go inside. As the days passed, people claimed they heard strange noises from the house at night, faint cries and whispers, and saw red eyes glowing from the windows. No one ever found Mike or his friends. The house, abandoned once again, stood as a reminder of the curse that lingered there. The townspeople knew one thing for certain: Noah's house was haunted by the spirits of the vanished family, and they would never find peace. And so, the house remained, shrouded in mystery. Every night, the townsfolk swore they could still hear the whispers calling, "Don't come back!